What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ty, behind the camera from Ty Drives, and sitting in front of us is the new 2024 Volkswagen Atlas, and this one happens to be in the SE with tech trim. We're working with pure white on the outside and Titan black on the inside, and we have a pretty nicely optioned out Atlas for us to take a look at, and some pretty nice update for this car too. So lots of styling updates, lots of interior updates, so make sure you stay tuned throughout the video to take a look at this car in full. But basically, we're going to take a look at the exterior first, then we'll then pop the hood, see what the new engine is we're working with, pop the trunk, take a look at all 3 rows of seating, and at the end of the video, we're going to take this for a test drive. So I'm going to strap this GoPro to my head, and we're going to get a first-person driving impressions. But back to the details on the exterior, we have all new headlights, so kind of like this bi-level LED headlight system. So of course LEDs for the high and low beams, as well as the daytime running lights and turn signals. And we do have this pretty cool light bar that runs from the headlights all the way across the grille into the other headlight, and our Volkswagen emblem actually lights up as well, so that'll be pretty cool to see at night. We have some parking sensors that surround the front bumper and some subtle silver accents, such as down below the final grille and around this accent in the center of the bumper as well. Now taking a look up here, we still have the classic Atlas body lines going up and around the wheel arches and on the hood too. So nice upright hood, almost feels like you're driving a truck with the way that this hood is set up, nice and square. And we have a nice big hood. All new wheels for the Atlas 2. We have 20 inches going on with this SE with technology trim. And our tires measure up at 255/50. Again, more of those very prominent creases, typical to all Atlases. So it's definitely still recognizable as a Volkswagen Atlas. We have these nice mirrors with the turn signal indicators and a blind spot warning. And we also have the roof rails, panoramic sunroof up there, and a little Volkswagen scripted in the B pillar. And if we flip around to see the mirror, you can see the little blind spot warning there. Now we do have smart key entry on all 4 door handles. You just tap this little pad here to lock and put your hand behind the handle to unlock. And again, that is on all 4 door handles. We are working with a $48,133 MSRP on this particular vehicle. Since we do have a couple of different options added on, we have the panoramic sunroof, which is an extra $1,200, and we also have the Atlas Adventure package, which is pretty cool. A couple of things that adds in, such as the roof racks, the base carrier bars, and the bumperdillo for loading cargo into the back. Pretty neat design back here with this full light bar. So light bars seem to be in thing nowadays from the front and the rear, and this one has both. So taking a look at the rear lights, we have full LEDs for the turn signals, tail lights, and brake lights, and they look very nice, all illuminated. And you can also see a nice chrome strip going down the back. And this right here is the bumperdillo, that is kind of the bumper protector, and a little bit more chrome accents down below in a kind of mimic tailpipe look. The actual tailpipes are underneath. And as you can see, this car comes hooked up with the trailer towing package too, so you can tow up to 5,000 pounds, and you also have the 7-pin connector right there. We have rear parking sensors as well as the rear camera too, and you can also pop the trunk right underneath the little L in Atlas. And of course, this one being up in the Northeast is 4Motion all-wheel drive. So I do quite like this update to the Atlas. Now, this has kind of been the 3rd facelift of the Atlas, and I just think it keeps getting better and better. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. So for 2024, gone is that V6, and in comes a new 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. produces 269 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque. So if you remember, the 2023 and below Atlas also offered a 2.0T, but it only had about 235 horsepower, so definitely quite the bump in horsepower, and about a 20 horsepower bump in torque. So that should definitely make up for the lack of the V6. But nice and very tidy in here. We have lots of room to work for when this car gets older. And yeah, pretty tidy engine bay. You can also get front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive regardless of trim, and everything comes hooked up to an 8-speed door converter transmission. Okay, so onto the trunk of the Atlas, we have quite a bit of room, and that is always something that Atlas has been known for. Almost 100 cubic feet of storage with all of the seats folded down. That is the second and third row seats. So that is quite the roomy vehicle. But for the sake of this video, I decided to leave up one side of the third row seat and fold down the other, just so you get a good idea of how much storage space you'll realistically have in this car. Now, nice Volkswagen protection kit. If you take a look at the underside of this mat, it is all rubber lined, so you can put whatever you want back here. You also have quite a bit of storage underneath here too, and the other piece of carpeting that you see there is removable to get your spare tire out. Lots of storage to either side to it, these little cubbies. We have grocery bag hangers on this side, and some also some hangers to put a cargo net and cargo tie downs too. So pretty nice. And as you can see from back here too, a little preview of the interior. We do have captain's chairs in the second row. Some LED lights too on either side, and as you can see for the third row, we have a 12-volt power outlet. Of course, we do have a power trunk, but you can close it with the little handle here manually, or you can just press the button. Alright, so our first look inside the Atlas will be for the rear seats. Now let's take a look at the door panel. Very nice new piece of wood that goes along the rear doors, and lots of wood accents in this car, in this very nice light color too. So we have some window shades, part of the SE with Technology trim. We also have very nice material, so all the way up here is soft touch. We have this kind of perforated leatherette and a nice soft armrest with some contrast stitching. New door handles and actually quite a bit of storage on this car, kind of 3 tiers, 1, 2, and 3 tiers of storage. And we of course have the second row captain's chairs. Now, coming standard will be a third row or a second row bench seat, so kind of 3 across. This will be a 2-seater in the second row, and very nice attention to detail on the seats. You have some contrast stitching, nice perforations and stitching. We do have a handle here to fold it flat, like so, and that will kind of be your maximum cargo mode. And to fold it back up, we can also pull this switch here, and that will allow for easy access into the third row seats, which I will do now. And we'll fold the seat back to a kind of comfortable position. And that's a good thing about the Atlas. There is tons of space, so I even have a couple of inches sitting in the third row. So that is pretty cool. And this lever here is kind of goes both directions. You can either go like this for if you're up front, or getting out, you can move it forwards like so. So very easy to get in and out of the third row on the Atlas, and also pretty comfortable to sit back there. And we are also going to try out the second row, so we're going to climb in there now. And also very roomy here too. There is a bar right down here where you could slide the seats back and forth. So to give you an idea, kind of the maximum amount of legroom. I am 5'10", and I adjusted this seat already to a normal driving position for myself. So as you can see, quite a bit of maximum legroom. And if we move it all the way up, my knees just barely tap the back of the seat. So that's pretty cool. A couple of air vents back here too with your own climate control. So it's a 3-zone climate control. You have temperature adjustments, fan adjustments, and where you want the air to blow. We also have two USB-C inlets, and if we push here, a regular household outlet. Pretty much flat back floor back here too, which is nice to get the kiddos in and out. And you can see the panoramic sunroof is very, very large and continues all the way back here too. And we also have some LED lights, grab handles, and a very good look at the front cabin. Okay, so the part we've all been waiting for, the front cabin. You can see we have an even larger panel of wood for the driver's door. With the addition of the lock unlock, we also have our mirror adjustments here. All of our window controls are one touch up and down, and then we can also lock out our rear windows and pop the trunk all from the driver's door. We have a couple of larger storage pockets, one here and one down there. And we have 6 speakers on this SE with technology trim. Taking a look at the left of the dash, we have this kind of air vent that's split in two, so you can adjust one this way or completely turn it off and adjust the other one all the way over towards the other way, so that's pretty neat. Taking a look down here is our headlight situation, so you can kind of press this mode button here to toggle on and off the headlights, which is pretty cool. We also have our all-weather lighting, and uniquely enough, they put the defrosters here, so just keep that in mind. Down here we can see our pedals and the hood release, and we can also see the release for the tilt and telescoping steering wheel. The driver's seat is fully power adjustable with a 2-way lumbar, and same very nice pattern as out back. So nice to see that Volkswagen hasn't skimped out on the quality of the back seats like some manufacturers do. All right, so for the new Atlas, we have a new key fob with the lock, unlock, trunk release, remote start, and the panic alarm. And on the flip side, we have the VW emblem. And we also have a little button right here to press to release the physical key. We, of course, have push button start right here. And that will start the new 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that we checked out under the hood. But let's start off the interior with the steering wheel, kind of nicely leather wrapped with the contrast stitching. We have all of our adaptive cruise control settings over here, as well as to adjust the audio volume and skip between your presets as well on the audio. We have a bunch of buttons here, kind of the arrows up, down, back and forth, and the OK to adjust our all new digital gauge cluster. We also have that view button too for the gauge cluster and your voice commands, as well as your heated steering wheel. Now attached to the back of the steering wheel, we see we have some paddle shifters, and on the steering column we have a couple of stalks. One, of course, for the turn signals and high beams. There's also a button at the end to turn on and off your lane assist, and on the other side we have your stalk for the front and rear wipers. Now, as far as the new gauge cluster goes, we're again going to use those arrows to adjust what we see. And in the center, we can adjust to a time and date, digital speedometer, and kind of trip settings. And to either side, kind of in the middle of the gauges, we can kind of see a myriad of different things. Average speed, compass, times, acceleration, things like that. So we'll leave it up on there. And then on the other side, you could do the same. So kind of the economy screen, currently economy, average, what gear you're in, which is a pretty cool display there. You also have your distance to empty down here and your lane keeping assist, visuals and all that good stuff in there too. But very nice looking gauge cluster with the blue accents, so that's pretty neat. Upper dash is nice and soft to the touch. Big speaker right up here, and that brings me down to the nice big 12-inch touchscreen. So very nice new display that we see in the ID4 and the new GTI and things of that nature, but this one is big. So we have kind of the home button right here, and we can go into the phone, radio, and media screens. As you can see, you could favorite different things, kind of switch over from media to here. We have our home. We do not have built-in navigation with this vehicle, but it is available on the Atlas. We kind of have a vehicle screen right here, where we can see various features on the outside of the car. So that's a pretty cool menu, and then also some settings on the interior, such as the cockpit and interior lighting. We also have some status, so the kind of the distance till empty will be in there, kind of your maintenance things, and you can also turn on and off the auto start stop. And then we also have your driving data, which has to do with the kind of trip settings. So we have since your last start, also the long term, and since the last refuel. So pretty cool settings there. We have our App Connect, which is the Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Also, you can adjust the sound settings, the focus, and the volume. Some really nice visuals on this screen. I really think that this home screen is probably one of the nicest looking touchscreens around, kind of with the blue accents in this car. Bunch of settings you can go through as well. You can also swipe from the top and get any notifications, or kind of just quickly adjust the brightness, and you can also change the whole screen to a kind of dark theme. Turn off your auto start stop, your audio, and then also your garage door openers, and to mute the navigation. You also scroll down, we have a couple of different things such as your assist systems. You kind of tap on each car to see and customize what each assist system is, and we can see we have the lane change assist, blind spot warning, adaptive cruise control, forward collision warning. So a whole suite of driver's assistance functionalities on this car. Now we can also swipe over here to get another kind of home screen. We can see if we had the navigation equipped, it would be over there. Any sort of messages or tire pressures, oil level, things like that would show up over here, and you can just quickly tap on your radio or telephone. And if we swipe over here, again, a very similar sort of screen, just with a little bit of a different layout. Now, most of the climate controls are routed through the touchscreen, which I'm gonna have to knock Volkswagen for. I'm a huge Volkswagen guy, but when they change everything over to the screen, it's just not fast enough. Perfect instance was today. I was very hot, kind of sweating, filming the outside of the vehicle, and then when I get in, I just want that AC to be cold. Whoever was driving the vehicle before did not have the AC on, so I was struggling to get the screen to work, and everything was booting up, and it's just not fast enough. So Volkswagen, if you're listening, just give us some physical climate controls back. But I can't knock it completely, because they do have some temperature controls right over here, and the climate control is pretty easy to access. You either have a physical button right down here, or from anywhere in the screen you could just tap right in the bottom left corner of the screen. Once you get to here, we have a couple of settings, kind of a smart climate. So if we want to say we want to clear your view, warm your feet, warm your hands, it'll kind of just adjust the climate control to do those things. Then we have our more traditional climate control, where you want the air to blow, your AC settings, it's kind of turning on the automatic function. We have the fan speed right over here, and our temperatures for the front and rear, or I should say the two front passengers, and also a devoted one for the rear. Huge step up on this Atlas is on this trim, you actually get heated and cooled seats. So that's a huge plus for the SE with Tech trim. And then we also have an air care kind of screen right here to kind of see what the kind of clean up the air on the inside of the vehicle. So that's pretty cool. I guess it uses just a bunch of filters and things like that to clean up the air. But that pretty much does it for the screen. Very intuitive for the most part, except for the climate control buttons. You also have our audio volume right over here, which you can swipe back and forth. And then down here we have a set of climate controls, or I shouldn't say climate controls, I have a couple of other physical buttons that relates to the screen. We can quickly pull up our driver's assistance, quickly pull up the climate, your parking menu, which you can see will pull up the parking sensors and the rear view camera. And then you can also adjust your driving modes. So quite a bit of driving modes on this car. We got Eco, Comfort, Sport, Custom, Off-Road, and Snow. And in Custom, you can adjust a couple of, actually quite a few different things here. The steering feel, drivetrain, engine sound, adaptive cruise control, and the climate control. So that is pretty neat. The Off-Road, you can adjust some things too. And it kind of just gives you an overview of what all of those preferences are, so that's pretty neat. Throughout the driving portion of the video, we're going to leave it in comfort, and then we may switch to sport. I'm not sure when we do an acceleration test, so we'll keep that in mind. Right down here we have a storage tray we can put back 2 USB-Cs and a wireless charging pad. We have some nice big cup holders, and then we also have the engine start-stop button right here, the park button for the transmission, and we have this tiny little stubby gear knob too for the transmission, so we can pull it straight down into drive. As you can see, it lights up yellow, and straight up to reverse. That will kind of, again, pull up your reversing camera and the parking sensors. I would just press P for park, so pretty easy. We have our electronic parking brake. Nice big storage pad right here to put pencils, pens, things like that. And if we open up the storage console, nice amount of room in here with another USB-C charger. Now underneath this whole panel here, there is no real gear shift knob that is connected to the transmission, so we have lots and lots of open space to put anything you want, really. I bet you could fit this will probably fit a small purse or something like that, so pretty nice amount of storage. Nice big slab of wood that goes throughout the interior too on the dashboard, so that is a very nice touch. Some more stitching and perforations on the dashboard with your lockable glove box, and again, that is pretty huge. Taking a look up here, we have a nice auto-dimming rear view mirror, and a couple of controls up here, mostly tap sensitive, so we kind of tap there for your lights. Turn all of our lights on with that button there. Turn them on with the door, and some information and emergency controls up there too. We have a couple of sliders. This one is for the sunshade, which we can open up, and the other one you kind of just tap to vent the sunroof and slide back to open it. So that is pretty neat. And we have a pretty massive panoramic sunroof on this car, so the front portion does open and move, and the rear portion is fixed. So we'll close that, and we have, I think, one more thing to talk about before we get it on the road, and that is these huge visors. They kind of block all the sun. You can even extend them to block sun from the side, like so, and we even have a mirror light and card holder, so you can see that light there. But that pretty much does it for all the features on the new Atlas. Kind of excited to see how this drives with an updated 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. So let's do that now. We'll get it out on the road and see how it feels. Alrighty, driving the new Atlas. So just a little overview of this car and kind of the test drive route too. This isn't a totally new Atlas. This is still kind of on the same platform as when they first came out. This is just kind of the third facelift, and a very nice one at that. So first of all, we're going to go down here to this dead end, and we're going to see how the turning circle is, or turning radius, some of you like to say. Just so you know, some of our viewers are in the city or like to visit the city pretty often, and so we'll see how maneuverable it is. Now in the past, the Atlas has been pretty good with turning circle, and yeah, not too bad. Cutting it a little bit close since it's a little bit of a bigger vehicle, but it definitely passes. Does pretty good. Right off the bat, you can almost notice that this newer or updated engine is a little bit more smooth too. So that is nice. They must have done some tweaks to this engine, maybe to the transmission as well. And it is a very smooth engine so far. Now we're going to take a right onto this more main road up here, so we'll see what the wind noise, tire noise, things like that are up at some higher speeds, hopefully 45 to 50 miles an hour. I think we could turn down the climate control just a little bit here so we can get some noise from the car. Wow, so far it seems like they did some work to the suspension too. This rides very nice. That is pretty impressive. You know, just initial thoughts. And a pretty quiet ride too. Not a whole lot of wind noise. I mean, granted, we're only at 40 miles an hour, but not a lot of wind noise. Just a bit of tire noise going on, but that's pretty usual. definitely hear the turbocharger spool. That is pretty cool. And the 8-speed transmission is pretty quick to react too. They have definitely done some pretty nice enhancements to the way that this drives. Not to say that the Atlas didn't drive nice before, it certainly did, but this is just a half a step up. Now at this point we're going to put it into the sport mode, and as you can see, it'll display what gear we're in right now. That is pretty cool. We'll keep it in automatic mode and just to see how the transmission does, but we're going to make a right onto this road here, and it's a nice flat, or I shouldn't say flat, but a straight road with not a lot of traffic. So we'll definitely get a test. I like to do, I like to get the car from 25 miles an hour up to 60 to see how it performs. So we'll get it up to 25 here, and we'll floor it and see what happens. Actually not too bad. And once you put it into sport mode, that is very interesting. There's definitely some noise being piped in through the speakers or somewhere in this car, and it almost sounds like a Porsche flat 6. It's just it definitely sounds like a 6-cylinder noise that they pipe in, even though this is a 4-cylinder. It actually sounds really good. That is kind of shocking. But performance of the car, not bad. Definitely has enough power, even though that it's a 4-cylinder for a large vehicle like this. And this is a pretty nice replacement for the V6 that used to be in this car. You'll definitely get some better fuel economy with the 4-cylinder. And we're only at, what, 7 horsepower less than the 6-cylinder was? And you have to keep in mind, 2 less cylinders, that saves you some weight, too. So it probably equals out to about just the same power to weight ratio as the V6 model. So pretty impressive acceleration from the 2.0T in this car. The extra horsepower definitely helps it out. And the 8-speed transmission gets us to where we need to be, and very nice and smooth. I'm going to leave it in sport mode because I want to hear that engine noise piped in again. And I'm going to close my mouth so you guys can hear it as well. Let's even activate the paddle shifters here. Let's do that. So we do have a straight section here. That's a very interesting noise coming from a sounding from a 4-cylinder. I actually kind of like it, not gonna lie. That is pretty neat. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest with you. So we have a pretty rough section of road coming up here, and that will be a pretty good suspension torture test. We'll put it back into comfort mode. Lots of patchwork, lots of potholes on this road, and it will give us a really good evaluation of the suspension. And yeah, it is pretty comfortable. Yeah, very compliant over the rough road. No unexpected, undulations and vibrations and things like that. It does ride pretty smooth. Not the smoothest in the world, but it definitely gets the job done with a pretty comfy ride. One more thing I wanted to talk about are the seats. Now, pretty comfortable seats too. Leatherette or leather seems to be always a little bit more firm of a seat than cloth seat. But I think Volkswagen did a pretty good job with the foam and things like that on these seats, because they are pretty comfortable, at least short term. I can't speak for long term, but they seem to be doing the job just fine. You definitely don't hear as much piped in noise when you're in the comfort mode as you do in the sport mode. So that's kind of adds a little bit of a sporty flair to the Atlas. I kind of like that. Nicely set up suspension too when you're going around bumps and things of that that nature in a turn. You don't feel kind of the suspension hopping around or anything like that. So very nicely set up. And you know what? For this one last turn, I think we're gonna put it into eco mode and see how it accelerates up this hill in that eco mode. Yeah, so definitely gets those RPMs nice and low pretty quick in the eco mode, but you still do have quite a bit of power to do whatever you need. It's not like the eco mode is restricting the power at all, so you definitely have enough. So that pretty much does it on the full review and test drive of the 2024 Volkswagen Atlas. And as soon as some of the Atlas Cross Sports hit, we will be doing a video of one of those. I'd like to do an upper end trim of that just so we get a good idea of what an upper trim looks like. But to end the video, I hope you have enjoyed the new Atlas just as much as I have. And I also hope you stick with us here at Tide Drives for more videos just like this one.